Hi, I'm Paris Lariani. Today I want to talk about something that comes up constantly in my work, and that is the idea of coincidence. Me personally, I hate that word, but specifically during or after intuitive or psychic reading. So, first things first, I want to be clear about what this conversation is not. This isn't about belief, it isn't about convincing anyone, and it is not about dramatizing spirituality. It's about understanding how energy, awareness, and information actually work together. So let's start there. When someone comes into a reading, nothing is being created out of thin air. Their life already has momentum. There are already patterns in motion, relationships are active, decisions are forming, and unresolved things are sitting under the surface. So a reading doesn't necessarily cause events, it organizes information that already exists. That's an important distinction. When intuitive information is accurate, it aligns with what is already happening beneath the surface. So it brings timing, relevance, and connection into focus. And the moment that happens, awareness changes, which that shift is not very, it's not very easy to understand to a lot of people. So with that change and awareness, it also creates movement. This is true psychologically. Even beyond that, it's true emotionally and energetically. The second you clearly understand something in your life, you start interacting with it differently, even if you're not doing it consciously. So you have to imagine that energy works the same way. So during a reading, when accurate information is spoken, it brings coherence to something that may have felt scattered or unclear. That coherence creates momentum. And this is exactly why things often start happening immediately. Sometimes even during the reading itself. I've seen many scenarios in which that has happened. Because, it could be a plural of things. So it could be someone reaches out because the connection was already active, or a situation will shift, or a problem surfaces because it was already unresolved. So the reading didn't cause these things. It synchronized awareness with reality, which is super important. I have many episodes speaking about how energy has its way of creeping into certain situations. But for here, the biggest point is during all of this, this is when people usually say, wow, what a coincidence. But coincidence means unrelated. And when something happens during or after a reading that directly reflects what was just clarified, it is not unrelated, it's part of the same sequence. And it's important that you know that order matters. Information comes first, and then response follows. That's not randomness, that's cause and effect. Stay with me. This is also why things don't always feel calm afterwards. It's a big thing, too, that often happens. People sometimes say that life felt heavier after a reading, or that problems showed up. But what's actually happening is that anything misaligned has to surface before it can resolve. Nothing reorganizes without temporary disruption. Disruption isn't punishment, it's movement. You'd have to think of it like cleaning out a room. If it's unorganized, you obviously have to kind of put the clutter elsewhere to organize that certain area, and that's kind of what's happening. So energy seeks efficiency. It moves towards alignment, not comfort. So when clarity is introduced, whatever doesn't fit that clarity comes forward. This is also why signs don't always feel positive at first. It's a big thing that happens. Dreams can be intense. People from the past can reappear unexpectedly, and situations can feel unsettled. However, that doesn't mean the information was wrong. It usually means it was accurate enough to activate change. The universe doesn't respond emotionally. It responds precisely. It doesn't reward desire. It responds to recognition. So coincidence is often the word people use when they're not ready to fully acknowledge what's happening, because acknowledging accuracy also means acknowledging responsibility, which a lot of people are not easily to face. So once something is clear, you can't unknow it, and that's uncomfortable for a lot of people. So coincidence becomes a way to acknowledge without engaging. Oh, it's just a coincidence. Oh, it's extremely accurate. I mean, absolutely, absolutely extremely accurate, down to the key, down to the wire. But we're going to say it's a coincidence because we're not truly ready to acknowledge the fact that this might be real. my psychic might be saying the truth. Sometimes during a reading, also, this is a big factor too. During the reading, there's some things that are negatively said, things that you're hoping to avoid. So, saying that the accurate things that have already happened that your psychic notes, saying those things are a coincidence is also a way to disengage with the negative part of the reading that was mentioned not, long before the accurate part of what's going on as of right now. So it's obviously a way to protect themselves. Um, but it's important to know that during or after an accurate reading, coincidence does not exist. It's honestly plain and simple as that. What's happening is response. Information is being recognized and acted upon. So that doesn't mean, this is also important too, this doesn't mean that everything is assigned, and it doesn't mean that life becomes mystical overnight, right? It simply means that when clarity is present, reality adjusts. So if you've noticed things shifting during or after a reading, people reappearing, situations changing, unresolved issues coming forward, you don't need to exaggerate it, and you don't need to dismiss it either. Just notice the order of events. I want it to be important to you that clarity comes first and movement follows. You've made the first steps by engaging in something spiritual and trying to get some help or some direction, which is, everybody needs it. But it's also important to note the accuracy that comes along with it, and the fact that coincidence just does not simply exist in this world. There's a lot of levels to it that is so hard to explain, but it's important that we notice the pattern and we accept it. It's easier to accept the fact that coincidence does not exist because it's easier to get advice that way, and it's easier to listen to what your psychic is really telling you. It's also a part of being closed-minded. Saying things are coincidence is the result of being closed-minded, and if you're engaging in spiritually working on yourself or looking for advice, closed-mindedness prevents you from getting the full experience. So for yourself, for your practitioner, and just for the well-being of the time that's invested in between both of you, checking things off as a coincidence may not be the best bet for you when it comes up to getting the full result of your service. So it's important that you note this, that clarity comes first and then movement follows. That is why we are seeing coincidence.